Alright, in this recording, I'm basically going to go over the FBI interview interrogation of Ghislaine Maxwell from July 24th and 25th of 2025. I will attach the links to where you can find the audio and PDF redacted files in the description. So if you want to, like I said, do your own research after, I highly recommend it. I also want to start by saying I have no legal background. I have no qualifications. I'm not a journalist, reporter. I mostly am discredited right off the beginning. I have no experience in this field, in the political realm whatsoever. So I just want to, like I said, post that right off the bat and just say this is all alleged, my opinion, opinion piece, nothing to do with anything that's concrete. So this is just my perspective, my understanding of what I think I know from what I heard. Which most likely is incorrect and not processed appropriately. But so that being said, I'm going to go over briefly day one of their interrogation that the FBI did with Ghislaine. It's a 44-minute audio file, and it is day one, part one in the PDF as well. So the whole FBI interview, Ghislaine actually reached out and wanted to be interviewed by the FBI and to try to clear up some of the criteria around the case that she was prosecuted for. So in the beginning, right off the bat, 2 minutes in, the FBI does grant her full immunity. So she was granted immunity from the FBI, stating that she would not, anything she says basically will not be used against her. That's what the immunity process is. The only time that they can use anything she says against her is in two exceptions. One being that if any of the questions that she answered where she lies or creates false statements, that'd be one case where they could prosecute. And then also number two, if there's ever a retrial of the Ghislaine Maxwell case and the lawyers or herself changes their position on a question that she answers during the interview, during cross-examination. So that's the only two times that they can prosecute her for what she says. Other than that, she's granted full immunity, cannot be prosecuted any more than she already is. So in the first interview for 44 minutes, she basically discusses how she met Epstein, what the criteria was around that, and how they kind of got established together. So from the PDF and from day one, they met in 1991. A woman friend, introduced her, Ghislaine, to Epstein, and they connected over real estate. Ghislaine's father was in the real estate business overseas, and he was looking for real estate in the States. So she was there kind of helping him with that. And then obviously Epstein was also looking for property. So that's kind of how they got connected. And he offered her basically a job to help him look for real estate, since that's what she was already doing anyway. That was her basically history. So in 1991, her father, Robert Maxwell, who's a pretty interesting character, passes away. And there's some undue financial pressure on the family because he was basically accused of fraudulent activity. Of over 460 million pounds that were frozen assets and finances. So she couldn't access any of those. So it's basically a financial hardship for her at the time. So she didn't go back. She already had a job over here, was kind of getting by with Epstein, and at the time was making $25,000 basically salary a year by assisting him with acquisitions of properties. She was more or less a glorified project manager or apartment manager, whatever you want to call it, but more or less she was overseeing those asset acquisitions. But her father did, like I said, have those fraudulent charges against him or investigations against him, and that was, I can attach that file as well. It's Global Capitalism in Oxford, so it's a pretty reliable source. But that was basically what was going on with him. He also had attachments to Goldman Sachs and a military history of intelligence. So the father was a pretty diversified and high-power individual, according to what I read and according to her statements. His passing basically put her in an undue hardship and basically pushed her into more or less being more active, working for Epstein and kind of getting more hands-on, acquiring more properties more aggressively, things like that. So he put her in charge at that time of acquiring and decorating properties. So one of the initial properties that she did buy, or that she purchased for him, was a government building, an Iranian government building located on 34 East 69th Street in Manhattan. And Epstein leased that at the time. Well, in 1992, the lease was going for around $15,000 a month at the time he was leasing it out, or it was $34,500 in today's standard. So a pretty hefty amount to lease out a building for. But nonetheless, it was an Iranian government building, and it was located on 69th Street, which is one street away from Central Park. They also lived in that vicinity. So Epstein had an apartment that was like 5 stories or something on 65th Street. And then later on, when Epstein and Ghislaine stopped having a relationship, at least a personal relationship, they always had kind of a business relationship. But she stayed on 71st Street, which they are also, like I said, about one street away from Central Park. So, like I said, she was kind of getting more involved with him around that time, around 1992, due to her father's passing and due to the interrogation against their finances and the money that he had at the time. Her father, not Epstein. So by 1994, she also acquired a ranch property in New Mexico, Zorro Ranch, which was owned previously by Democratic Governor Bruce King, and her role was growing, like I said, prior as a property manager, more or less. But like I said, these are not like very simple purchases. These are not just like apartment buildings or, houses or things like that. Like, these are highly sought after buildings. Like I said, the Iranian government building is a historical building, as well as obviously it has ties to government and the Iranian population. So, and they also purchased the New Mexico Zorro Ranch, which, like I said, had political ties to the Democrat governor, Bruce King. So like I said, these are very, situational and positionally based acquisitions. So they were flying through multiple states, acquiring properties during that time. Her salary was around $25,000, and there was also rumors that she had a trust fund left to her by her father. Ghislaine Maxwell denies that, saying that obviously due to her father's alleged fraud and investigation, that basically there was no assets or trust fund to basically pass down, in her words, not mine, or to which she was involved. So she wasn't allegedly involved in that activity that her father was doing either. So moving right along, Epstein and Maxwell continued to see each other until 2001, where she started to date Ted Waite, the co-founder of Gateway Computers, which was a big computer company back in the early 2000s. She dated him, in her own words, from 2003 to around 2010, 2011. And how she came to meet Ted Waite was at a dinner with President Clinton in Hong Kong, to which her, Epstein, and Ted flew together to basically the event in Hong Kong. And when she was questioned as to if she met her husband through Epstein, she denied and said that she had ties to President Clinton and that it wasn't really Epstein's friend, it was Clinton's friend, and she was with Clinton and Ted on the way to Hong Kong. They just happened to be in a plane that was Epstein's, and he was also there. So it's a pretty good positional move for her as well. Like I said, this is just my opinion. Doesn't mean it's right. Doesn't mean it's true. To basically separate herself from Epstein because of obvious reasons. He's dead, number one. So he can't implicate her in any of this because he's gone. And also, President Clinton is still alive, very much so. So, that seems to be more of a problem if you accept that, that basically I'd rather kind of protect myself from the Clinton family. They have kind of a known history of perhaps disappearing people, allegedly. So, and like I said, Epstein's gone, so he's essentially no longer a threat at this time. So it's a very good position to move for her to separate herself from Epstein and just say that, during that time it was under President Clinton and Ted Waite that they were going to this event for probably presidential campaign or something to support the Democratic Party, and that they were there, together to just support that in Hong Kong. I tried to find the actual event in 2003 in Hong Kong. I could not find it. I could not locate it. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. But I could not find any trusted sources or any sort of confirmation on that event. And also, according to her, Epstein Island was purchased around 96, 97 because she oversaw the budget and essentially all the decor and construction that went into it. So that was more or less her activity on day one of the audio files. Like I said, 44 minutes. I just digested it in a couple minutes, but hopefully that kind of cleared up some things, or at least encourages your kind of anticipation of what could happen during the case and the trials and all those things. So if you want to look into it, I will definitely post the transcripts and, like I said, the audio files as well. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoyed that little tidbit, those 5 minutes of conversation, and I appreciate you listening. Thank you very much, and I'll try to dig into it a little bit deeper later on, maybe do another set of that segment to maybe kind of work through a little bit more, such as names, places, dates, and those things.